6:33 PM. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay,
Yeah.
meeting called to order. We have Catherine, we have Joan, we have Russ, and we have myself. Is Patrick on?
I don't see him.
No, Patrick. Craig is working, may come in later. And I do not remember the new guy's name. John, is it?
John.
He's not on either. I think he's given up on us. And we have Fred Palladini visiting Catherine.
Okay.
He's waving. All right, agenda item number 1 or 2. Where are we at, Catherine?
That was one. We need to review and approve minutes from the previous meeting. I sent them out earlier.
I
Yep,
read them.
I saw your email.
I saw them too.
Any questions or comments on the meeting minutes from last month?
I have none.
Good job.
Do I have a motion to approve
Oh, thank
the
you.
minutes?
I
Why don't you
make a
make a motion, Catherine?
Make a motion to approve the things that I did.
Second.
All right, all in favor of approving them and accepting them as is?
Aye.
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 All right, unanimous approval of the minutes. You'll get them submitted
Yeah, I'll
to
send them
town
to
clerk
Denise.
for posting. And I was going to ask, have you now been regularly doing that after each month?
I have a couple I need to send her, but I'll send it after tonight because then I'll send this one too. And she'll
Okay,
get all of them.
Fabulous. Okay, the next agenda item is always the treasurer's report. I don't believe there's been any money spent or any changes, but Joan, what do you have for us?
There are no changes, as I actually did get a printout from Ken. And I think it was for, I don't know, what month it was for, but it was the most recent one. And it said our expense account, which is our usual $1,000 account, it has a balance of $695.35. I don't know if that matches what I said last month, but that's what it came up in this most recent report. And our balance for our emergency fund is $19,095.
Okay. That's the remainder of our $25,000 warrant article funding from 2 years ago.
Mhm.
Correct.
Okay, excellent. All right, I'll make a motion to accept the treasurer's report as given. Do I have a second?
Second.
Yeah, I mean, you don't really have to make a motion for that because we're not like voting on anything.
Okay,
I mean, you can if you really want to, but you don't have to.
well, since I already did.
All right,
Okay.
aye.
Oh,
Oh,
it makes me
sorry.
feel good to have such,
Don't let me
Support.
stop you, Ed.
I won't. I'm getting frustrated with my laptop. Everything is off screen. I think it's because I use multiple screens at home. It doesn't want to give me the screen here, so I wanted to dial in on Zoom, but it looks like I'm not going to be able to. All right, what's the agenda item, Catherine?
See Mr.
The
Palladini first.
next one is
I believe he wants.
updates from the HC mailbox, which I have not checked, so I don't know what's in the historical commission mailbox, but the answer is probably nothing. I don't know if any of you stopped by on your way up.
I usually check, and I forgot to coming up tonight. I was here earlier today. I did not check, so I'll check on the way out later.
Okay. The one after that is Historical Society initiatives for 250th, which I think we talked about last meeting. I think he just copied it maybe from the previous meeting because
I think there was an email from someone, I
Scott.
don't remember who, about a week ago to Craig, asking him what our thoughts and or participation in the 250th was going to be. And Craig's response was basically the Historical Society has a whole list of activities
Oh, that's true.
that's
Yeah.
driving our celebrations this year.
Yeah. You're
So
right.
I think the agenda item question is, do any of our members have any thoughts on anything that we should do this year for the 250th celebration? Outside of what the Historic Society is already scheduled to do.
Yeah, it was from Lynn Haggerty, and Craig responded to her and copied the ones from the society, so a couple of which have already passed, the two pension records ones. And then in March there's going to be one about Pauline Bradish, which is the DAR program, but that's like later. Signing of the declaration is going to be in April. There's going to be a Paul Revere reenactor performance in September at Heritage Day. And there's going to be a Revolutionary War encampment with cider making and period food making in October, which sounds great. I love that. That's great. I don't know that I have anything specifically to add. It's really more of a society jam anyway, really.
The only thought I had is the work that's being done at First Cemetery, that maybe we could have some kind of event there later in the year to celebrate
nice.
the restoration and, the Revolutionary War soldiers that lie there. I don't know what we would do, but
veterans there.
we could have a tour of the cemetery type of thing.
Yeah, sure,
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
That would
Joan,
be good.
You think that's a good idea, Joan?
Yeah, I think so. I was thinking, well, maybe in October.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Let's bring that up again when I get to the First Cemetery update, because there's some interesting things developing, so maybe we can
Okay.
throw that,
Interesting things. Okay.
interesting things.
All
All
right.
right, let's move on to the next item.
The next item is
Wait a
West.
minute.
Jump ahead with Mr. Palladini first, so he doesn't have to listen to our boring meeting.
I thought he was just visiting. Do you have something that you want to address here this evening, Fred? Or are you just visiting the meeting?
I'm just visiting.
Okay,
The only thing I wanted to know what you guys were doing for the 250th. Because we were floating around a couple of ideas with the cemetery commission. And I don't want to be overlapping what other people are doing. So, we're just trying to, I haven't really been able to get any straight answers, like when it is it, like on the 4th of July, is it in conjunction with the other 4th of July activities? Is it after 4th of July activities?
well, I
Is
think
it during the year? I don't know.
what we know right now is the Historical Society, not the commission, the society, has issued a whole list of activities that spread throughout this year. Catherine just read off several of them.
I got that.
And we have one thought I just raised about doing something at First Cemetery, but I'd like to hold that until we get to the agenda item for the First Cemetery. If you're willing to wait a little while longer, it won't be long.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean,
We can,
I knew they were trying to have a Declaration of Independence reading down on the common, but I didn't know if there was anything else going on with that, maybe. I mean, it would be really cool, like, for instance, like to have, and I don't know, a citizen immigration swearing or something like that, or, at the same time, or something like that. I mean,
well, I think
tons of things that you can do, like from battle reenactments to, even in arts and crafts. I mean, exhibiting stuff that like of art things of the period,
Mhm.
Tours of the cemetery. I mean, it's a million of things that could be
Yeah.
going on there.
Well, like I say, I think most of the activities have been planned by the Historical Society. They have something in March, something in April, something in July, something in, I don't have the schedule in front of me. And we have one thought here on the cemetery that I'm gonna hold off for about 10 or 15 minutes and we'll
Okay.
discuss it then.
You know?
So let's go to the next item, Catherine.
next item is the West Upton visioning. I don't know that we have anything to convey
Oh.
specifically on that.
Greg sent out another email this morning on the next meeting of the West Upton Visioning Committee. West Upton Visioning Committee. The next working group meeting for the West Upton Center Planning Project will be February 25th at 6:30 PM. So that's what, next week?
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't
Uh,
get that from him, but I believe you.
Based on what we heard at the end of the last meeting, we will continue the discussion of the action plan. We've made a Google Docs version of the action plan so that you all can provide comments before the meeting. That should make our discussion more efficient. We ask that you review the action plan and add your comments prior to the meeting using this Google document. So this comes from Dylan Sussman of Dodson and Flinker. So I haven't followed much of the West Upton Visioning Program project. I know Craig has been deeply engrossed in it, but so he's passing on an email from Dodson and Flinker, who's the professional organization the town has hired to support the West Upton Design Visioning Program. So if anybody wants to participate next week, the 25th, at 6:30 PM. And the 25th is Wednesday night. So next Wednesday night at, 6:30 PM. And unless anybody's got any input, that's all I'm going to say about that project. So let's move to the next item, Catherine.
Okay, the next one is, hold on. Yeah, email SB and DPW regarding roof repair workshop. I'm not sure if that was about the church.
Read that a little more slowly, please.
Email SB and DPW regarding, I believe SB is select board, and
Yes, that-
DPW regarding roof repair workshop. It's a duplicate of what was on last month's agenda.
Yes, that's the push that Craig wanted to make, to have a meeting with the select board and the DPW, who's responsible for town buildings, to see if we could encourage them to move ahead with the funds that were approved at the 2024 special town meeting in November that raised $110,000 for exterior restoration work on the Knowlton Ristine Building and Holy Angels Church. The Knowlton Ristine Building having been painted and done using other funds, apparently the 110,000 remains in full. And Craig and I had proposed that maybe we could have a meeting with the select board and try and convince them to at least use the money to put a new roof on the building and seal it watertight, while
Yeah.
all the rest of the discussions about what to do with Holy Angels remain on the table. I don't think if Craig had sent an email to our interim town manager, Dennis Westgate, I don't know whether he did or didn't, but if he did, I suspect Dennis may have been dragging his feet, because effective in a week and a half, we have a new town manager starting on March 2nd, Kristen Rubin.
Yeah, the note from last week, I remember I put in the minutes, said, maybe I didn't put it in the minutes, but I remember from my notes, we had said something about like, wait till the new town manager comes and then pester them again, basically. I don't know if that was necessarily the only takeaway from last week or last month, but it might be that there's no movement on that because we're in that transition period.
Yeah, now I suspect it's all because we're in a transition period. And maybe we can get her attention and the select board come April or May and have this conversation about doing something before next year comes and goes and nothing is still done with the building and I believe to the best of Craig's knowledge, I think he said he was in there a couple months ago, that the roof is still leaking.
I'm sure it is. It hasn't magically like resolved itself, so houses don't patch themselves.
Well, they patched all the roof up there 3 years ago, 4 years ago when I got on it and got,
that's true.
Kevin, what's his name, in town here to go over, and he put shingles where all the shingles were missing and patched it, but how successful that was, I don't think we know. And I do know that a lot of the woodwork around the, I don't know what you call it, halfway up the steeple is missing and wide open, but whether that lets rain in or not, I do not know. So the thought was, if we could convince the select board to go ahead with repairing that woodwork and putting a new roof on the building, I fully believe that can be done for less than 100,000, 110,000, because I had gotten a quote at the time to put a new roof on the building for somewhere around $35,000 or $40,000, not including the steeple. But the steeple might double it, because the statement was the steeple would require a tremendous amount of scaffolding. An independent company would have to be hired by anybody who does it to put scaffolding all the way up around the steeple. But still, I would think that that can be done. I know the select board's thought, supposedly at the last meeting this was discussed, was that they did not want to go ahead with partial restoration work when the apparent intent was full restoration of the building. And that according to state procurement law, that's not allowed. You can't do bits and pieces. You gotta, if you plan to do the whole thing, you've got to do the whole thing, or you've got to hire a contractor that will do pieces, but he's already committed to the whole project. So I don't know where all that stands. I don't know what the legal ramifications are. I just know that from the historical commission's perspective, we believe the roof is leaking, which means the building will continue to deteriorate. And we thought at a minimum, we could get a roof on the building and keep it dry while all the other planning continues for the next year or 2 or 5 or whatever. So
Okay.
I think it would be appropriate next month's meeting to discuss this a little more in depth and see if we can push for contact with the new town manager and select board to arrange for a mutual meeting and conversation about doing something.
Okay.
Okay, what's next?
The next one is First Cemetery updates.
Oh, my goodness.
We're on
Okay,
number
well,
6.
I didn't write them down, but from memory, I submitted a RFQ to the town manager around December 1st of last year for the purchase of new headstones and footstones that have been identified as too either missing or too damaged to stand on their own. That RFQ was sent to the new town council that the town hired, and nothing more was heard from it until yesterday. Well, apparently it was sent back to Dennis on December 16th, and he never got it. So I got it yesterday. I made all the changes the town council recommended should be made, mostly text changes, nothing truly significant. And I returned it to the legal counsel directly yesterday afternoon. And I got a shocking response that they didn't know that it was a bid expected to exceed 50,000, which requires a whole different document. And they are going to proceed with creating the whole different document. There was discussion just for interest on whether I wanted an RFP or an IFB. Yeah, Russ just said it perfectly. What? An RFP, in my lingo and all my years in purchasing, it was an RFQ, a request for quote, but in municipal, it's an RFP, request for proposal, which has all of its requirements that goes with it. An IFB is very similar to an RFP, and it's an invitation for bid. Not a huge difference between the two, but slightly easier to manage with an IFB. It has to be a formal bid. It has to go up on Compass, which is the state's website for bids. It has to be published in the local paper and a few other things that go with it. But I think the form of the document is a little bit more extensive. There has to be time and place of opening the bids and all that good stuff. So I don't know what the attorney's going to come back with, but I may propose that the opening of the bids will be at our next meeting in March. I did tell her, and she understands, and I think is in agreement, that the bid must go out no later than March 1st. And it would be a 3-week process. So hopefully I get that back. If not tomorrow, sometime next week, can review it and get the thing published so that we get this bid out to get some gravestone companies to bid on replacing those stones. The time frame I put in would be that all of the stones must be completed by May 15th of 2027. In other words, 2 weeks before Memorial Day next year as a deadline. With the stones being provided in no more than 5 at a time to try and manage the process and make sure they're being produced properly, quality, matching the photographs that are in the bid. There's 24 stones in the bid. I didn't count, but there's probably 8 or 9 are foot stones and all the rest are headstones. 2 or 3 got added when I received that 1903 transcription of the cemetery. Stones that are completely missing today and fragments don't even exist that we know of. So those were added to the bid. I had back and forth with Mr. Fence, which was the sign company. The DPW had gotten me a quote last summer for a gate. The gate that was originally bid was a 14-foot single arm swinging gate. I asked Mr. Fence to change it to a two-piece gate with a 10-foot arm and a 5-foot arm. The 10-foot arm could be fixed and closed at all times, opened only for, say, DPW access, and the 5-foot gate could be easily opened for pedestrian traffic to try and close the opening somewhat, keep strangers out that don't need to be in there, but to allow pedestrian access. So that was modified accordingly and has been signed off on. And I got an email yesterday from the salesman of Mr. Fence that they are scheduling installation. So I don't know when it'll be installed, but he did say they'll install even if the ground is partially frozen. So whether it be March or April, we'll have a gate in the cemetery, which will be better than that iron pipe or something that's been sitting there for years and years.
It's historic.
I had a conversation with a gentleman from the men's club, and he has 3 volunteers, possibly 4 or 5, says he can get more people if necessary, that will participate in the April-May timeframe of doing plantings. So trees, shrubs, flowers, whatever. And he and I are going to meet as soon as the weather permits, so we can walk into the cemetery and try and put together a plan of what we want to do, where we want to do it, so that then we can coordinate with anyone who wants to volunteer to do the labor portion of it. I'm also hoping that maybe one weekend he can get 10 or 15 guys, because he said he could get more, to do a general cleanup, more than the DPW would normally do. But not a full raking, which would never happen in that cemetery. It would take forever to rake that cemetery out. So all in all, outstanding. He's got 3 people plus himself that are absolutely committed to the project, and he said he can pull in others for short periods if necessary. So I think that's fabulous. So by Memorial Day, hopefully we have a new gate installed. We have it cleaned up. We have some trees and flowers planted, shrubbery planted, whatever we decide we want to do, nothing too extensive. I told him my largest concern is until we get the RFP out for the headstones and the bids back, I won't truly know how much money is available for plantings. Right now, it's estimated we might have $20,000 to $25,000 for plantings, which is more than we would ever need. But if the bid for the stones comes back higher than anticipated, that could cut into that. So another reason to get the bid out and back by the end of March, so we know how much money we have to do the rest of the work. We've already spent approximately 22,000 on the tree removal, stump grinding, and the steel plates that were needed to get the crane into the cemetery. So that leaves us 103-ish thousand. The gate, I recall, is about 2,500. So that brings us down to 100,000, 101,000. And we have a design for the sign, which I have brought with me. I don't know if there's any way you folks on Zoom can see it, but I'm going to unroll it. It's a full size, so it's 4 foot by 6 foot. See if I can unroll it here and. There we go. And I'm assuming you can't see that at home, right? That's why I wanted to have my laptop up and I can't seem to get it to work, so.
Not really, but I can get the general gist. You can always,
I will
Send
send
it
out
out
an
later.
email when I get home of the sign, so you'll be able to see this on an email.
okay, thank you.
This is a 4 foot by 6 foot sign. It has the Gary Aaron Hellman Engineering Survey in the center of it, showing the location of all the gravestones, along with the table showing who's buried at each numbered gravestone. It has 22 pages out of the book that I'm working on, The History of the Cemetery, that show a short genealogy of each of the Revolutionary War soldiers and pictures of their stones and transcriptions of their stones, with either a red or blue line from that page to the actual grave. So you'd be able to go in and find somebody and then go find where their grave is in the cemetery.
Well, that's great.
Bottom left corner says installed by UHC, Upton Historical Commission, 2026 for America's 250th anniversary. In the center below the map, it says for a copy of the book, Inscriptions and History of First Cemetery, contact the Upton Historical Society. So my intent is whenever I finish the book, that we'll put some copies at the Historical Society for people to purchase.
Great.
I have a question.
Yeah,
That's going to be a hard surface sign, right? It's not going to be a canvas.
no, it's a hard surface. I don't know what the material is. It's a state-of-the-art exotic metal coated
Weatherproof.
ceramic, weatherproof, the whole bit. Will last for years and years. And it will
Okay.
be mounted to two. It was originally going to be mounted to two 4x4s. I didn't think that would look very nice, so we've changed it to 5x5s with gray vinyl sleeves, like you do a vinyl fence. I didn't want white because I didn't want it to be too flashy. The sign itself has a mottled gray background to try and coincide with the vinyl coverings of the 5x5s with two vinyl caps. So I think it'll sit into the background very nice and will look very nice. But I'll send a copy on email, and I'm looking for feedback. If you see anything you don't like, something you'd like to add or change, I want to submit this to the sign company in the next week or two to tell them go make the sign and schedule installation whenever the ground permits.
Okay.
At the top, it says First Cemetery, and underneath in slightly smaller text, it says AKA South Cemetery or Old Burying Ground. It has a header at both right and left side, Revolutionary Soldiers. And like I said, there's 22 of them. And then it has an inset for first lifetime minister, Mr. Fish.
And the cost, what was the cost?
I don't have a final. The first cost was $750. I think he went up to $770, but the vinyl's gonna add probably $100 to it. So it's probably gonna be $850, $900, which I think is
$1,000.
cheap at twice the price, yeah. Yeah, and I think I'm gonna ask him how we can archive the digital design so that if this has to be replaced in 15 years or 20 years, somebody can easily reprint the sign and go put it up without all of the cost of designing it and creating it in the first place. But the guy at Signs Plus did a lot of work. We changed this several times. The images with the line drawn to their grave, in many cases, the lines crossed. And I said, I don't want lines to cross. So we had to move the images around to different places to try and get it so all the lines are nice and parallel and uniform and nothing crosses. It's a shame you're not here to see it, but I think it's a beautiful sign. Hopefully everybody else does too. So I will email this out. Looks good. Thank you, Fred. Email this out when I get home. So gate, sign, and the sign, there should be no issue with getting this installed before Memorial Day, if not sooner. Headstone, footstone quote going out by March 1st. Coming back, the date I put on it right now is March 23rd. So if we could schedule our March meeting for after the 23rd, we could review the bids at that meeting. Meeting with the men's club to do plantings. And the last piece was I decided to attempt to find out who donated or sold the land to the newly formed town of Upton to create the cemetery. And I started with Scott Richardson's land, who's the gentleman whose house is right in front of the cemetery. And I managed to trace him back, his 2 acres back about 100 years. It was still 2 acres. And then the next step back, it was owned by Nahum B. Hall. Nahum B. Hall's farm sat at the intersection of Mendon Street and Grove Street. I don't know if Grove Street existed in 1900, but he died in 1892, and the deeds I found were his heirs, so his children, selling the 57-acre farm at that point. So I know in the 1870s or 80s, the land from the west side of Grove Street to the east side of Grove Street, up the gravel road to the cemetery, the land on the north of the cemetery, the south of the cemetery, and the west of the cemetery were all owned by Nahum Hall as late as 1892. I discovered yesterday that the land of the railroad that runs on the east side of the cemetery was sold to the railroad in 1887 by Nahum Hall. So he actually owned the land that completely surrounded First Cemetery. So I thought at that point it would be relatively easy to trace that land back to 1735, and I was completely wrong. I've gone through about 200 deeds, and I cannot find where Nahum Hall got the land. It wasn't from his father. It doesn't appear that he purchased it, and I don't know whether one of his ancestors gave it to him in a will, which doesn't appear in a deed, but I did find a deed from 1760. In 1760, so that's 25 years after the town was formed and the cemetery was created, Wilson Rawson sold a piece of land to Josiah Dean that bordered the Meeting House Road. It's interesting because on the 1735 map of Upton, it shows Josiah Dean owned all the land around the cemetery, except that the deed in 1760 shows that he didn't get the land around the cemetery until at least 1760. So somebody owned it before him. And I cannot find any land that Wilson Rawson purchased in Upton in this area. So I struck out again. So I'm going to do a little more work on that, but I'm not optimistic. I'm going to figure out who bought the land. And finally, this afternoon, I went over to Denise Smith's office, town clerk's office, and I started reading the meeting minutes of the first meetings in Upton, the selectmen's meetings. 1735, 1736, 1737, 1738. There was no mention of land for a cemetery. That being said, it appears the minutes of the first town meeting, only about a quarter of the page survives. So it's possible somebody read that somewhere in the past when the page existed and said that at the first town meeting, they voted to construct a cemetery, and at the second town meeting in November of 1735, they advised the meeting that the cemetery was complete. I don't see that anywhere in the minutes, but I'm gonna go back a second time and read through them again and see if there's something I'm missing. I wanted to get the history of the cemetery that Daniel Fay did, and then that I think Carol Bloomquist and a few others did. I want to get that in mind to be exact, correct, and have a citation to where it came from. And if it's not true, it's not true. So we shall see.
Where did you find the minutes from those meetings?
Well, I
Are they-
thought it was going to be challenging to find it, but she has all these bound books, and it happened to be book number 1 on records.
Well, that's good. Okay.
Page number
Denise has
1.
them?
Yes,
Was it-
Denise has them.
Okay.
So if you want to join me someday, Catherine,
I would absolutely love to. Yes.
yeah, all right, I'll try and pick a day, maybe in the next week, we can go over for an hour or two and take another peek at the first minutes. They are
Yeah.
relatively easy to read, except for a few words. A few words I could not determine what they were there. They're poorly written, or they faded, or but most of it is legible, which is great. So I think that's everything on the agenda for First Cemetery restoration. And I was kind of excited, all the work that I've done when I did the sign that I added for America's 250th anniversary, because it's quite timely that this is the year where most of this is going to come together and be finished. Any questions or thoughts or?
I'm very happy that it will be ready for Memorial Day. Because I know Russ hasn't asked me yet if I'm going to speak, but I will include a special, heads up about the Revolutionary War soldiers.
Well, the sign should be standing at that meeting if nothing goes wrong, Joan. So I think that will be a great help to everybody. So
I
with-
think we'll enjoy seeing it there.
With all of this being said, and like I say, by Memorial Day, we should have the sign, we should have the gate, we should have some plantings. And the DPW has agreed, once the weather breaks, to go in and grade all of the stump grindings that were done when the trees were removed and the stumps ground. They're gonna do all that work for us. So I won't
Yeah.
have to hire a landscaper to do any of that, which I think is also fabulous. No cost to the town.
Good.
So with all this being said, I think it would be nice if we did 1 or 2 things at the cemetery for the 250th in order to honor the Revolutionary War soldiers and add to the list of things the Historic Society is going to do. Maybe we can do this in conjunction with Scott, putting it in his plan for the year. We'll do a tour of First Cemetery, maybe once, maybe twice.
Yeah.
You'll help,
Sounds-
Joan will help, Catherine will help.
Oh, sure.
Sounds good.
Yeah, it sounds
Okay.
great to me.
Good.
All
I'd
right.
love to help.
Any thoughts, Fred?
Oh,
So get one cemetery done this year and see where it takes us to the others, but this is a lot more work than people think it is, to go in and straighten a few stones. And we did repair 11 stones this year. 11 badly damaged ones were put back together, so that saved us probably another $40,000 or $50,000 in replacing them. And one stone suddenly reappeared, the Colonel Ezra Wood.
Yeah.
That stone was missing for 35 years and somebody brought it back and put it together. We have no idea who did it. All right, Catherine, what's next? Did she leave us?
Yeah, nope, I was just on mute. The next
Okay.
one is social media update and review.
Has Patrick joined us?
Patrick's here.
Hello,
Hi, Patrick.
how's it going?
I haven't heard your voice in a while. It's going fabulous. You have anything to add to the conversation?
Well, I do want to help if we do something with 250th for the at the cemeteries. I'd love to assist and help out. So let me know what I can do.
Okay, well, I think that the intent is sometime in April or May, or several times in April or May, to go in there and do a little bit each time and get this thing looking spiffy for Memorial Day. So,
Jolly. But besides that, it's been just kind of business as usual. You know, nothing to really report with social media. Just keeping an eye on things with AI. You know, becoming more and more rampant across all social media platforms. But nothing that's going to impact us really. It's just it's everywhere. Like it's crazy now that if we wanted to, we could literally create like AI, like we can recreate pretty much anything from the past using AI, and it's great but also scary at the same time.
well, maybe we could have the Colonel, Mr. Wood, standing there in full AI holographic image, giving a speech. Why don't you work on that one, Patrick?
I mean, if I could, if I had like if I have images of him, like I can pretty much take you can pretty much take any images that we have and pretty much recreate. For example, like I could take an image of Mr. Knowlton and pretty much have him like pretty much talk the way he would have talked while he was alive and put him kind of in a background and kind of make him look very CG but also somewhat authentic. So every passing year AI is getting better and better, and if it replaces us, then I think we have bigger fish to fry.
Yeah. What I'd like to suggest, Patrick, is maybe you could take a slightly more active role this year in putting stuff up on our Facebook page with what's going on with the Historical Society celebrating, commemorating the 250th, with what's going on with the restoration of this cemetery and stuff. Just put a few tidbits up there once in a while. If you got any
Sure.
questions or need pictures or something, just send me an email and I can add to it. But
Yeah.
this would be the year to get everyone's attention in town.
I would agree with that.
All right, what's next, Catherine?
Sorry, I muted myself again. Upton's 300th anniversary fund, it says. I don't know that we have anything new on that point. I don't know. Did we ever figure out whether we could convert the 250th fund to the 300th? I know Craig was looking into that, but I don't know that
know
he
if
ever
that-
received any answer.
Yeah, I
I
don't know if
did,
that question's been asked.
I tried to ask Ken Costa that question a number of times, and I really didn't get a definite answer on it.
I have a feeling that's a question for the town manager to address.
Okay. When I get home, maybe I'll work on that.
I think that may be slightly outside of Ken's role in trying to answer a question like that. Maybe it's partly within his role, but I think our new town manager would be a question for her at some point.
Yeah, she might have to, they might have to run it by legal. Like, I don't know the legality of it, which was the
Yeah.
main thing. I don't know that Ken knows that. It might be above his pay grade, so to speak, but I feel like that makes such a difference in terms of what we might want to do or how we might want to approach it, because either we have some funds that we can put towards it and then use those for fundraising, for a parade, whatever, or we don't have any funds, right? And what happens to that money from before? Because they didn't use it all up. So
Right.
I would think it could be converted, but, you know, I don't know.
And I think that's probably the answer that I got from Ken Costa. It probably could be converted. But could it be converted? Yes, no, nothing definite.
Yeah.
So I will work on that when I get back.
I mean, my personal thoughts, I think I shared at a previous meeting, was I think we need to figure out how to create a separate committee who's focused solely on the 350th anniversary and what we can do, how we can raise funds, what activities should be included, you know, how many times during the year should something be happening, et cetera. And maybe now with Scott reinvigorating the Historical Society, that he could participate in that conversation and that planning. I don't think it's going to happen at this commission level.
Yeah, it does seem like it needs more people and it needs its own committee, and certainly it needs to be run in conjunction with the society. So it should be at least like if not all society people, like some overlap for sure.
Yeah. Okay, so let's schedule next month's meeting for the evening of the 26th of March at 6:30 PM. How does that sound, everybody?
I mean,
What day of the week? What day of the week?
Thursday.
Oh, okay.
I don't want to change the date without Craig, so
Yeah, Thursday the 26th at 6:30.
yes.
sure.
That should be fine.
Fine with
And
me.
That
with any
works.
luck, we get the bids by the evening of the 23rd, which is Monday of that week. And I don't know what exactly the process needs to be, has to be, but we could potentially say we'll open the bids at our meeting on the 26th and make a decision on who's gonna carve what gravestones.
Okay.
All right, I think the last agenda item is always anything unplanned, unscheduled. Anybody got any other topics?
I had one thing, the town common, Scott contacted me and he said he had a discussion with Dick Henderson, and Dick Henderson was commenting about the World War I monument, which is the one that's on the white porch stone at the very point of the common. And apparently that is the one thing that might have to be moved when they do the reconstruction of 140 in the downtown area there. And I vaguely remember hearing a discussion about it being moved to the back of the common, back near the Russ, tell me what memorial is.
Near the
At-
World War II memorial with the Vietnam and
World War-
Korea on it.
Right.
Do you remember getting, I sent it out at least either last meeting or the meeting before, I think it might have been. They had a town common revision plan and they showed where all the stuff's supposed to move to. They're gonna move
I remember seeing it.
the World War II monument to one side and then the World War I monument to be like back with it, sort of facing it ish, in the back half of the town common when
All
they,
monuments will be near each other. I know that.
yes,
Yes.
except for, but they're not moving the Civil War one. The Civil War one's supposed to stay where it is. But the other monuments are going to be back in the back half, closer to like the pizza place side.
Yeah.
And then they're going to redo all the plantings. That tree that the tree that we use as the Christmas tree that's like 9/10 dead is going to come out. A bunch of like planting stuff is going to be redone, like new trees and stuff. I can send it to you if you want, if that answers your question. I don't know if it answers your question, but I just wanted you to
all set in stone? That's going to happen the way it was.
I
proposed?
believe it is. I mean, it's not, they didn't ask us, so I'm not sure that I have the most recent. I got it off the website when I happened to be searching for something else. But I got the impression that it was the way it was planned to be. I know it's being done in conjunction, like, since 140 is being redeveloped, you may as well redevelop that anyway, but I don't know exactly where it stands.
I think from
So-
what little I know is that the construction of the roundabout will not affect the common. No
Yeah,
land is taken for that, not even the sidewalk. That isn't being touched. However, that leaves, as it does today, the World War I monument right out there next to the roundabout. And I don't think any of us want it to stay there.
No.
My understanding is that some of the large trees will be removed, at least the large shrubbery. I don't know about the trees. Because we raised the concern last month or 2 months ago about the mold and everything growing on all the monuments. And it's because those shrubs have gotten so big, they're keeping all the moisture on the stone. So the shrubbery will be removed, the monument, at least the World War I will be moved over by the others. And new plantings and stuff, and they will be cleaned. And to Catherine's point, I do not know why they have not been sitting in front of us to have this conversation about the monuments and stuff, but Mike and company have not come here to discuss this at this level, so
yeah.
that's.
Mike
kind of-
Antonellis would be the person to ask, but I've never heard a follow-up on it. I can resend you the last thing I have, but I don't see anything past August. Yeah, the last stuff that's on the website is still from August of last year. So I don't know where we are in that or what is actually being done. The Commons renovation was presented in August, and there's like a map and everything for it. But I don't have anything past the 27th of August on the website that I can see.
Catherine, do we know who came up with that plan?
The town contracted with CHA engineers to provide a vision for the town common nearby Knowlton Restraint property. CHA held a public visioning session, met with town staff, and presented to the select board the plans provided. It's under town
Okay.
manager on the website. So
We were not directly.
we were not looped in at all. In fact, the only part that I remember seeing anything about is that they've included do you remember when we went to the select board and we talked about light poles?
Yes,
So the light pole that we liked or that we had some greater than zero amount of input on is in here in this slide deck or PDF, whatever it is. But like nothing else we've discussed at all in any way or have been asked to discuss. So I don't love that. That is how it is. But
yeah,
I
I
can
think
send
we
you what I've got.
kind of given a raw deal here. I mean, here's one of the most historic things in our town common. And they didn't even consult us as to redesigning or planning.
Yeah,
changes.
like I'm not upset about it. I'm not upset about their final design that they may or may not do anything with. I don't know because they haven't told us. But it would have been nice to have at least been CC'd on an email somewhere.
Right, right. Exactly.
I don't have
yeah.
veto power, but it would be nice to be in the loop. So
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
well,
Right.
I think there may still be time to have that discussion, so let's put that off till next month.
Yeah, I mean,
and
it doesn't,
maybe
I
we
don't
can-
disagree with anything that they did in
We can
terms
ask
of like
Mike to come to the meeting.
putting things
and explain
away
himself.
from the road, but it would be nice to be in the loop.
All right, does anybody have anything else for this meeting?
No, sir.
No.
All right, motion to adjourn the meeting at 7:27 PM. Have a
I make a
second?
motion.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Aye.
All right, everybody have a wonderful month and we'll see you again, same time, same place, same channel.